everyone, I'm Ashley with Posh Crochet Patterns, and today I want to teach you all some tips and tricks on slip stitching. So slip stitches are a very difficult crochet technique, especially when you're slip stitching into slip stitches. That's very difficult, and a lot of people just want to give up. They just don't even want to mess with it. But I want to show you all some tips and tricks. That way it'll be a whole lot easier for you and you won't have any problems in the future. So this here that I have, this is slip stitch ribbing. These are slip stitches on slip stitches, which is normally really difficult, but I want to show you all how to make this easier. So I have my slip stitches. I've already slip stitched across here. And our slip stitches, when we're looking at it, our slip stitches are in the back. So what we see here, these are considered our front loops. And when you tilt it a little, you'll see the chain of the front loop and the back loop. Front loop and the back loop. Front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop. So what we want to do is, first tip is, it is easier to go into these slip stitches with a hook that is slightly pointed. We don't want a real rounded, bulgy tip. That makes it a lot harder to get into the stitch. But if it has a nice little slant with a point, that makes it easier. So when we go into our stitch, we want to kind of go in down at an angle. So we want to go in, and we don't want to grab the yarn right here. That's a no-no, because that will make our stitches very small and tight. So when we go into yarn over, we want to go out pretty far. We want this part of the hook to be inside that stitch, so we stretch that stitch open enough to where we can just pull right through and up. And I want to show you all. So here's the stitch before, and here's the stitch I'm working in now. With slip stitches, when you pull this in, sometimes when you go in, you see how that pulled that stitch real tight? If I continue to work this, when I come back around for the next row, I will not be able to get into that stitch. That stitch is way too small. It will be impossible unless I use a lot smaller hook to get into that stitch. But we do not want that. So what we are going to do is we're going to go into that stitch. We're going to yarn over pretty far. We're going to go into that. We're going to grab it. We're going to pull it. And here's the tip. So there's the stitch before, and here's the stitch I'm using now. I want you to pinch. I want you to pinch it and then pull. Look, I can continue. If I can get that to focus. I can continue to pull and pull, and look, it is not pulling that stitch. That stitch is staying the same size that it was, and that's what we want. So when you do that, pinch those two stitches right there, and you can just pull and pull and pull and pull and pull, and it won't tighten. So we're going to go down at an angle into that chain. We're going to stretch the stitch, yarn over big, pull it through, and then if you just lightly do it and pull it up, it'll prevent that stitch from pulling in on itself. But if you kind of give it a hard tug real fast, it will shrink that stitch, and that's when you want to pinch. And hopefully these tips, hopefully they help. Hopefully they help you. want this to be easy for you because you never know, this winter we might be doing some slip stitch on slip stitch ribbing for some really nice beanies. So that's what we want. We want these slip stitches to be big enough to work into for the next row. So we just chain one and turn. You go back into that same chain there for your first stitch. Push that hook in there to stretch it. Yarn over big, pull it up. Now this first stitch here, I do like to pinch. And then there we go. And we want this to be up kind of high too. Really the looser you get this, the better it will be to work into for the next row. And you can use this same technique on back loop slip stitches, front loop slip stitches. Just make sure your tension is nice and relaxed. You don't want real tight tension or it will cause these stitches to pull in on itself. And when it pulls in on itself, it makes tighter stitches. So you want loose, loosey-goosey tension. We want loose stitches. And don't worry about it being loose. Most of this ribbing, I did like that. And once you pull it, it'll all pull in and it'll fit good. You don't have to worry about that. So loose is good when it comes to slip stitches. The looser, the better. And I hope these tips help you, and I hope they help with all your slip stitching projects. If you want to leave a comment below, let us all know how much this helped you. And if you liked the video, comment and hit like. And I will see you all again soon with some more tutorials and stitches and stitch projects. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.